Hi learners, good morning to you all. I am Professor S. Krupanidhi, heading the Department of Biotechnology at Vignan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research, a deemed university located in a rural vicinity, Vadlamudi, Guntur district, Andhra Pradesh, India. And myself and one of my colleagues, Dr. Vijaya, Assistant Professor, both of us are giving a series of talks on a particular course entitled Molecular Phylogenetics. This molecular phylogenetics is a course that has been designed exclusively for a bioinformatics student. In our department, we are having two programs. One is 4-year course on biotechnology. The other one is 4-year course on bioinformatics. For this bioinformatics program, we are having in the second year this molecular phylogenetics course. Okay. In this, currently I am taking up the Unit 1 Systematics and Classification in the topic 1, SYMPATRIC population, ALLOPATRIC population. Okay. Now, let us know a little bit details of the molecular phylogenetics. See, since the time the DNA structure and sequence was unraveled by the Nobel laureates, there is plethora of information that came into the scene. That is, the DNA structure alone is not being used for genes and what is it called, DNA fingerprinting, and again DNA footprinting and transcription and all those things. That is one aspect that is very well established. Now the DNA sequences are being used, and again the genes are being used for environmental adaptation, ecosystem adaptation, and environmental conservation, and again the interrelations among the organisms. So like this, the Watson and Crick established the structure and function of double helical DNA structure. Since then, the plethora of information has emanated in various fields of biology, not only in molecular biology and also in immunology and environmental biology and biodiversity and species conservation. Now in this line, this is the first topic we are seeing, and there are plenty of events where the DNA sequence plays to understand the adaptation of organisms and the conservation of organisms in the environment. Why we are so particular about the organisms? Why we are so particular about the conservation? See, on this globe Earth, man alone cannot survive. Man alone cannot survive. We require the flora and fauna that is present around us to be with us for the sustenance of life on the globe. If the flora and fauna are not existing, man cannot exist even for a single day. Okay, so that's what we have to remember. So all through the time, we had to speak and have the attention towards the conservation of the biodiversity. Attention towards the conservation of the biodiversity. That the biodiversity around us is making the human to survive well. Okay, with this background, we are now going to a hyperlink on biodiversity.
Biodiversity is a key concept in ecology and has importance on both local and global scales. Biodiversity is the degree of variation of life, or, put it more simply, the number of different individuals and life forms in an area. Scientists usually measure biodiversity on either genetic, species, or ecosystem levels. For example, if you wanted to measure the biodiversity of beetles on a global scale, you would find that there are over 350,000 known species of beetle on the planet. However, if you wanted to measure the biodiversity of beetles locally, you might find only up to 10 or 20 species. The reason for this difference is that biodiversity varies greatly with the location, habitat, and species being surveyed. In general terms, biodiversity tends to be highest at the equator and decreases at higher latitudes, i.e., as you get further away from the equator. Knowing this information, where would you expect to find the habitats with the lowest biodiversity? Pause the video and have a think. Habitats at the equator, such as tropical rainforests, usually have the highest biodiversity. So if you thought habitats at the north or south poles, such as the polar desert, you're correct. It's important to know that biodiversity is not a static measure, but is responsive to numerous factors, including climate change. In fact, global biodiversity is generally thought to be declining right now. Biodiversity has declined in the past, and a total of 5 major extinction events have occurred. Currently, we are in the planet's 6th major extinction event, known as the Holocene extinction. There are many proposed reasons for the current drop in biodiversity. Some of those reasons are anthropogenic, meaning caused by humans. Anthropogenic factors include things like introduced or invasive species, such as the introduction of rabbits to Australia, human-induced hybridization, such as in plants to create optimal species of crop, overharvesting of resources, and global climate change caused by human activities. While humans aren't responsible for all of the current extinction events, there is good evidence to suggest that humans are affecting the world on a global scale and causing the loss of many important species. The loss of biodiversity could have catastrophic effects on our society and even result in the loss of our food crops. For example, bees are in huge decline and they are extremely important in the pollination of many plants, including our crops. There are lots of ways we can reduce biodiversity loss and even increase biodiversity, such as managing our land better, growing more than one crop, and including plants that encourage insect diversity, and also creating cities with space for other species. We shouldn't just focus on the rural areas. Urban places can do their bit. By increasing the local biodiversity, we can help the environment to sustain itself and give it a better chance of withstanding the effect of global climate change. A healthy and diverse ecosystem can withstand and recover from disasters. Biodiversity is an important topic that affects us all. As a global community, we need to take action to protect our biodiversity on both local and global levels. Here are just a few of the free services a healthy, biodiverse ecosystem provides us with.
Yeah. So just now we have gone through an animated video wherein the DNA sequence was shown, the species was shown, the ecosystem is shown. There is a link between these two. So that's what here the ecosystem to conserve for the purpose of the specimens to thrive on. Okay. So let us see the objectives. To acquaint the terms such as population and sympatric and allopatric population. Population, sympatric population and allopatric population. These are the new terms that are being given to you. Let us know this. To familiarize with the sympatric speciation and allopatric speciation. Okay, population is different, speciation is different. Let us get to know this. These are the fundamentals in molecular phylogeny and biodiversity and conservation. Okay, now expected outcome is the definitions for the terms such as population will be known, allopatric population will be known, sympatric population will be known. Okay, the barrier for allopatric speciation and the split of a few of individuals in a population for sympatric speciation will be known. Okay, how an allopatric population comes, how a sympatric population comes, those things will be known by the end of this talk. Okay, Now let us see the definition for the population. Okay, so it is very quite interesting, though we keep talking of the human population, buffalo population, goat population around, and we may not focus on a few points. Here let us see the population always goes with the same species. Whenever you speak human population, again within the human population, if you want to have what is the woman population, what is the men population. So like this, it is specific to the species, specific to the species. Like this, at which region? Is it in the region of the Guntur district or whole of Andhra Pradesh? So that is another important point. So whenever you speak a group of individuals to get to know as population which are interbreeding members of the population, then we should have the region. Is it homozygote, heterozygosity, all those purpose. And then at the same time, the population, human population in the year 1950, the human population in the year 2020, what is this? We will be knowing the differences. Okay, so the population means these are all the members which are belonging to one species and they are having the capacity for interbreeding. Okay, let us see, for interbreeding to occur, individuals must be able to mate with any other member of the population and produce a fertile offspring. That's what the population definition. That means species, geographical area, and the same time and the interbreeding. These are the four terms that gives the definition for the population. Let us see for the allopatric population. Allo means here another place. Okay, so that's what we have been seeing in the immunology also. Allograft. Allograft means another person's the graft taken from the other person. Like this is allopatric. Allopatric meaning in another place describes the population or species that is physically isolated from other similar groups by an extrinsic barrier or to dispersal. Extrinsic barrier to dispersal. Okay, so that is the most important point here. There is a barrier involved. As a result of the barrier, the members of the population are physically isolated. So that's what here we are going to see through the diagram also. From a biogeographic perspective, allopatric species or populations are those that do not, please remember, that do not have overlapping geographic regions. Okay, in the previous case, in the population, we have given the definition that population belonging to the same geographical region. Okay, now allopatric populations, they do not have overlapping geographic ranges. Okay, they are there in a different regions because barrier was there. Barrier made them to get separated. Now let us see a pictorial representation how to understand the allopatric population. Okay, so in this allopatric population, this is the original population. Okay, in this original population, because of some volcanic eruption or some sort of the river bend has come here, and because of the earthquake and several of those things, a barrier has come, geographic barrier has come. Now we have seen the continental drift. So that's what we are seeing, the presence of some of the snails in Indian continent. Their original snails were there born in African country. Okay, earlier Africa and this Asia was there in Gondwana Island. From there everything was separated and like this geographic barriers have come. Now the species which are living in India, though they show the affinity towards the African species, but they are separate. Okay, they have become allopatric population. Now, as a result of the geographic barrier, reproductively also they are isolated. They can't have interbreeding. So as a result, the two species have come. So that is the best examples in this is, as we have done, Vijaya has done the work in our Department of Biotechnology. He has taken the Phylogenetics specimens from Indian continent. And from this Indian continent, he has isolated the gene markers. And the gene markers he has compared with the gene markers that are already available in the NCBI, National Center for Biological and Biotechnological Information. So in that NCBI, once it is compared and the blast analysis was done, basic, what is it called, bioinformatic tool, okay, local alignment tool. Once the blast analysis was done, then it has shown the relations with that of the African counterparts. Okay, that means these Indian species have taken their origin from Africa. So geographical barrier, reproductive isolation and speciation. Okay, next. That's what about the allopatric speciation. Allopatric speciation means a barrier has come within the same population. That is, the barrier is geographical barrier. As a result of the geographical barrier, the population over the time got isolated and they have become independent species. Okay, that's what allopatric. Now let us see the sympatric population. In sympatric population, the population is there in the same geographical area, but there is a split. That is, one group, one niche, the population which is there in the same geographical area, a few of them are there in the same one niche, and they become distinct. They become distinct from other species. As a result, a sympatric speciation starts. Now let us say this is the original population. That niche made them to get isolated, and that has become within the population a small niche has come. So this over the time became a species. That means here there is no geographical isolation, but the individuals are isolated and form a colony in the niche. So as a result, they have become species. So now let us see the speciation. Now within the speciation is how allopatric speciation is formed, how sympatric speciation is formed. We are going to see in this particular topic. A species is a group of individuals of a population, okay, that actually interbreed in nature, producing viable offspring. Now, one more thing is the species, allopatric species, there is gene flow is interrupted. Gene flow is interrupted. That is, once the two species are getting isolated by the barriers, then there is no question of gene flow. That's what for the species, if at all want to give a definition, species protects the gene pool. Species protects the gene pool. Species is an ecological unit. Species is a reproductive unit. So that's what the gene flow is interrupted here when population is divided into geographically isolated subpopulations. Okay. Now let us see some more details of allopatric species. So here, as we have seen this diagram, here there is a owl which is present in the Canada, North America region, and again there is another owl that is present in the Mexican region. They are, because of the distance, they have become allopatric species. Now let us see the sympatric species. It occurs in the population that they live in the same geographical area what we have seen earlier. About the population we have seen, now how that population arose. That's what we are saying in the sympatric speciation. In sympatric speciation, two populations of the same species are occupying the same range, the same geographical range, or in a range that overlaps. Okay, even though the territory that the organism live is the same, they are able to split into two different groups that eventually become so genetically different from one another that they can no longer breed with each other. Once they do not there's no longer a breeding between them, they form a separate entity. That's what, when one group can no longer breed with another, it is a separate species. That's what sympatric speciation. Okay. Now let us see a few of the points here. In the sympatric speciation, both the species which are emanating live in the same geographical area. In this, okay, and they split into two different groups. Okay, so as a result of niche formation mostly, and once they become separate, no longer they breed together. As a result, they are called a distinct species. Now, one simple example, see here, a very simple example that we come across here. That's what the flora and fauna is having a lot of knowledge. So that we can explore and understand. For just conservation means providing no traffic, no equipment, what is it called, no industry, no metropolitan cities and all that means, it doesn't mean the conservation. Conservation means we have to mimic the ecosystem. We have to mimic this ecosystem. That's what. Mimicking the ecosystem means it's not artificial. Naturally, we have to make them mimic the system. Let us see one simple example here, sympatric speciation. An example is given here, that is apple maggot flies. Okay, so let us read this, I'll explain. An extremely recent example of sympatric speciation may be occurring in the apple maggot fly. So the flies that we are having around us, every day in the house also we are having the, what is it called, the house fly. The house fly larva is called maggot. Okay, where is the maggot fly? So if you keep in our house a little bit away, either some portion called idli, just our idli, if you keep it away, flies keep coming, flies lay eggs, and in another 4 days you can see the maggot larva coming from the idli. Okay, where from the idli is having the maggot larva? They're all the larvae of fly which laid the eggs there. So that's what I'm telling. So like this, the maggot fly of Regolitis and Punolella is that one we are now seeing here now. Okay, so this particular apple maggot fly lays egg on the fruit of hawthorn trees. Okay, but less than 200 years ago, some apple maggot flies began to lay their eggs on apple fruits and apple fruits. Okay, instead of hawthorn fruits. Hawthorn fruits. Okay, now let us see. Now there are two groups of apple maggot flies have generated. One that lays eggs on hawthorn and another that lays egg on apple fruits. Okay. So ripened fruits, even in the nature there are ripened fruits. The ripened fruits constitute the substratum for the flies to lay their eggs because the eggs develop into the maggot. Maggot requires some sort of a semi-liquid environment for them to grow. That's what here. These maggots also are one of the biological species like us. The fly is also one of the biological species like us. It requires surviving. It needs to be survived. Okay, so that's what here it has adopted the fruit as a substratum for laying of the eggs. Clear? Now, let us see, in this case, males look for mates on the same type of the fruit that they grew on. And females lay their eggs on the same type of fruit that they grew upon. Okay, let us see now. Therefore, flies that grew upon hawthorns will raise offsprings on hawthorns only. And flies that grew on apples will raise offspring, that is maggot. Maggot over the time get metamorphosed into the hawthorn, into this fly, maggot fly. Okay, so raise offsprings on apples. Now these are the two. Now let us see. These are already now as a result of the two types of the fruit substratum that they have taken for their maggot larva to undergo the development. There are already genetic differences exist between the two groups, and over a long period of time they could become separate species. This shows how speciation can occur even when different subgroups of the same species have the same geographic range. Okay, so that's what, because they have taken they are all living in the same region, but one group of maggot flies have taken the hawthorn fruit, the other group have taken apple fruit. So over the generation, they have diversified as sympatric species. Now let us see. The definition for the term population is explained. The explanation for allopatric speciation, such as the appearance of a barrier between the individuals of the single species, is elucidated. The description for sympatric speciation, namely the split in a single population into two different groups and become genetically different subpopulations, is given. A good example has come. That's what apple maggot flies. Study questions: define the term population. What is meant by allopatric speciation? Describe the sympatric speciation with an example. So with this, I wish you all to go through this definitions on population, sympatric species, and allopatric species. We will see in the next second unit. Thank you one and all. Thank you.